In a major win for Australian agriculture, a significant policy shift has just been announced that is set to reshape the future of the beef industry. The United States has officially removed all tariffs on Australian beef, with the change taking effect immediately. This means that Australian beef exporters will no longer face the financial barriers that have limited their access to one of the world's largest and most lucrative markets. For months, Australian producers have struggled under the weight of a 10% export duty, which squeezed profit margins and made it harder to compete with other international suppliers. Now, with the removal of these tariffs, they can once again compete freely and fairly in the US market, opening up new opportunities for growth and expansion. This move is part of a broader White House initiative aimed at easing food prices for American consumers and strengthening global supply chains. In addition to beef, tariffs have been lifted on over 200 other Australian products, ranging from agricultural goods to manufactured items, signalling a renewed commitment to open trade between the two countries. For Australia, the inclusion of beef in this agreement is especially significant. The beef trade with the US is worth billions of dollars each year, and the removal of tariffs is expected to restore stability to the industry, support rural communities, and help mend recent trade tensions that have strained the relationship. The decision is not only a financial relief for producers, but also a powerful symbolic gesture. It reaffirms the strong economic and diplomatic ties between Australia and the United States and demonstrates a shared commitment to fair and mutually beneficial trade. Across rural Australia, optimism is running high. Farmers are hopeful that this new era of open trade will allow them to rebuild lost market share, invest in their businesses, and forge even stronger partnerships with American buyers in the years ahead. The US government's decision to lift beef tariffs didn't come out of nowhere. It was driven by mounting domestic economic pressures, most notably the sharp rise in grocery prices that's been hitting American families hard for months. As the cost of living continues to climb, beef has become a symbol of broader inflation, with many shoppers finding their favorite cuts suddenly out of reach. This frustration has been building as voters across the country express growing concern about their shrinking grocery budgets and the impact of inflation on everyday life. President Trump, facing mounting political pressure, publicly acknowledged the urgent need to address soaring food costs. He emphasized that ensuring affordable beef is not just an economic issue, but a political one as well. The reality is, the US simply can't meet its own beef demand right now. Empty shelves and long lines at meat counters have become a common sight, highlighting the strain on domestic supply. Recent election results sent a clear message. Policies that drive up food prices are deeply unpopular with voters. Lawmakers realized that failing to act could have serious political consequences, prompting a rapid policy shift. Severe droughts have devastated US cattle herds, leaving ranchers struggling and supplies at historic lows. In contrast, Australia's thriving cattle industry has become a lifeline, making imports essential to stabilize prices and keep beef on American tables. Earlier this year, Australia's willingness to ease restrictions on US beef imports helped build trust and momentum for a broader agreement, paving the way for this breakthrough in trade relations. The move to lift tariffs is a pragmatic response to the realities of the market. It reflects a recognition that international cooperation and negotiation are essential tools for solving domestic challenges. Ultimately, this episode is a powerful reminder that diplomacy and economic necessity often go hand in hand, shaping the direction of trade policy in ways that directly affect people's lives. Australia stands tall as a global leader in red meat production, with its sprawling cattle ranches stretching across the outback and lush farmlands. The country's beef industry is renowned for its commitment to quality, sustainability, and animal welfare, making Australian beef highly sought after around the world. The United States is Australia's top customer, importing over $4 billion worth of premium beef every year. This trade is a cornerstone of Australia's agricultural exports, supporting jobs and rural economies nationwide. Australian beef, especially its lean, grass-fed cuts, fills a unique niche in the US market. These products are prized by American consumers for their health benefits and distinctive flavour, perfectly complementing the grain-fed beef produced domestically in the US. Earlier this year, a 10% tariff was imposed on Australian beef exports to the US, casting uncertainty over this vital trade relationship. The tariff threatened to disrupt established supply chains and put Australian producers at a disadvantage. With the added cost, Australia risked losing valuable market share to aggressive global competitors like Brazil and Argentina, who are always eager to expand their presence in the lucrative US market. Thankfully, the removal of the tariff has safeguarded a crucial income stream for thousands of Australian families and regional communities, ensuring their livelihoods remain secure and their future bright. The relationship is not one-sided. The US is also a significant supplier of beef to Australia, particularly in times of drought or when domestic demand surges, making the trade deeply interconnected and mutually beneficial. This partnership is built on trust, cooperation, and a shared commitment to high standards, with both nations working closely to ensure the smooth flow of goods across borders. Maintaining open access to the US market is essential for balancing trade, supporting Australia's economic health, and providing American consumers with diverse, high-quality beef options. The ongoing success of the beef industry stands out as a shining example of how international cooperation and open markets can drive prosperity and innovation in a complex global economy. By keeping markets open and fostering strong trade ties, both Australia and the United States ensure a prosperous future for their farmers, businesses, and communities. The Australian government has welcomed the US decision with measured optimism, calling it a positive but partial step. Foreign Minister Penny Wong and Trade Minister Don Farrell both emphasised that while the beef tariffs removal is a win, broader US tariffs still impact other Australian industries. Canberra's response is deliberately cautious, celebrating progress while signalling that the fight for fully open trade continues. This approach keeps pressure on Washington for further concessions without appearing ungrateful. The government's strategy is to secure more comprehensive trade reforms, not just isolated victories. Australia's message, thank you for this step, but there's more work ahead. The goal remains a fair, reciprocal trading environment for all sectors. Prime Minister Albanese and Foreign Minister Wong have made it clear Australia's goal is zero tariffs with the US, not just selective relief. Albanese stressed the need for full reciprocal access, framing the issue as one of fairness and partnership. Wong echoed this, highlighting that open trade benefits both nations and strengthens the global trading system. Their united front sends a strong message. Australia seeks a modern, comprehensive free trade agreement. The government's advocacy goes beyond beef, aiming to set a precedent for all industries. Australia is positioning itself as a champion of free trade on the world stage. While beef producers celebrate, Australia's steel and aluminium industries remain burdened by steep US tariffs, up to 50%. These duties have crippled competitiveness and show no sign of being lifted soon. The US protects its metals industry for political reasons, making change unlikely in the short term. Australian officials argue these tariffs are unfair, especially given the close security alliance between the two countries. The contrast with beef highlights the piecemeal nature of trade progress. For metal producers, hope and frustration coexist as they await their own breakthrough. The government pledges continued advocacy, but the path to free trade remains slow and uncertain. The end of the US beef tariff gives Australian producers a clear edge over rivals like Brazil, who still face higher duties. This advantage makes Australian beef more attractive to US buyers, especially as American production lags. The move signals Australia's reliability as a trading partner, encouraging stronger, longer-term contracts. With demand high and barriers gone, Australian exporters can boost sales and profits, benefiting rural communities. The ripple effect is significant: more jobs, investment, and economic stability for regional Australia. The timing couldn't be better, as global food security concerns grow. The tariff removal is more than trade news. It's a direct boost to Australia's economic heartland. For many, it promises a brighter, more secure future. The beef tariff win is a milestone, but Australia's trade relationship with the US remains unbalanced. Australia imports far more from the US than it exports, resulting in a persistent trade deficit. Removing all tariffs is key to closing this gap and supporting broader economic growth. The relationship extends beyond goods. Services and investment flow both ways, making stable trade rules vital. The beef decision is a positive sign that pragmatic, mutually beneficial deals are possible, even in a protectionist climate. Persistent diplomacy has paid off, but much work remains to achieve comprehensive free trade. The challenge now is to leverage this success for broader reforms. The end of US beef tariffs marks a hopeful new chapter, but it's just the start of a longer journey. Australia's goal is zero tariffs, a rules-based open trading system that benefits both nations. The beef breakthrough shows progress is possible through patient diplomacy and a focus on mutual benefit. The next challenge: securing relief for steel and aluminium, which face tougher political hurdles. This moment highlights Australia's need to diversify trade and avoid over-reliance on any single market. The beef victory brings optimism and momentum, but the ultimate goal is a fully open reciprocal trade partnership. The barbecue is back on, but the real work continues.